So I was showing you guys the DX390, and I mentioned real quick that the DX390 has two sets of batteries. There's three AA batteries for the computer, and then four D batteries for the to run the radio. And as I'm handling the radio and talking, I'm like, when did I change the double A's? When was the last time? Now, normally I put the date on the batteries. Uh, I years ago I hung out with this guy, and he had an in-law that was there was something wrong with the guy. But the one funny thing he did with everything he owned was he put the date on it. Whenever he got a radio, anything, he put the date on it. And I asked about that. He said, "Oh, he puts the date on everything." And I start thinking, that's not a bad idea, because sometimes you'll have something in your hand, a tool, certain things. You're like, when did I buy this? Or you're like, can it be 10 years already? Yeah, it can be. So in a lot of places on a tool, I'll scratch the date. You can't see it, but it's there if you want to know. So I'm thinking about these batteries that are in the radio. I'm like, how old are they? So today I went over and I bought more, and they had them in the like that. Let's see if we're in the frame. Yeah, I'm like 100% longer, but what? Oh, AAs. Oh, there's 8 in a pack. I'm like, made no sense. Well, how long do they last? What the? Well, anyway, at some point, I pulled them out, and you get this side, which is what you're supposed to put. 15-year shelf life. And I'm looking at my batteries that I took out, and I'm like, this makes no sense at all. This is totally crazy. Now, the new batteries, 15-year life, you had 15 on there every 30. So it'd be 2040 they're good to. And I'm like, that seems like impossible, right? So the batteries I took out, I looked at much closer. And it turned out they've been in the radio since 2020. So they've been in there 5 years. That's too long. And they didn't leak. I got lucky. And I put these in there. But this one guy I met and repaired stuff for him. And then one day he said to me, "What did you ever do for me?" I repaired all these. It was totally stupid. And then someone next to him starts saying, "He fixed this for you. He fixed that." He didn't care. He was so self-centered and selfish. And everybody enabled the guy. And then later on, something happened. I can't tell you what. His family's still around. But he went into a deep depression. He finally realized what an asshole he was. Or he just realized that the wife was making more money than him and put him into a depression. And he thought he was the cat's meow. And it was just so funny. But he put the date on everything. And I learned from him. See, I always tell you, the more people you meet, the more you learn. Besides books. You learn so much in books, so much online, so much if you go to learn a course. But sometimes you meet somebody who, in a very simple way, explains things to you. Like, I'm out walking, and I was getting ready for Social Security. And you have those supplements. And then you see the commercials, they'll make you nuts. So I'm walking, I bump into this guy, John. He has since died of Alzheimer's. I said, "With those commercials, they're making me nuts." It's like, he goes, "You ready for Social Security?" I said, "Yeah, I got to get a supplement." He says, "Did you ever hear of AARP?" I said, "Yeah, my dad had it." I said, "My dad had the insurance." He goes, "Yeah." He says, "Go with that. And then basically try it for a year, and you can change." So I called the girl up at AARP. And then she got me. Well, it was United Healthcare. And I mentioned something that somebody else screwed up. She says, "Oh, that's Part D. And the person didn't pay it, so they're getting fined every year." I said, "Okay, you got it." That's the story the guy was telling me. So anyway, I went with United Healthcare, which the other day, a guy at Walmart, I'm jumping around, guy at Walmart sitting at a booth, and I go by, and he starts talking to me. And he goes, "Would you want to change your health insurance?" I said, "No, I have United Healthcare." He goes, "Who's that?" I said, oh, remember the guy got shot? He goes, yeah. I said, that was the United Healthcare guy. That's what we do to people that don't give us our money. And he chuckles, but then he catches himself. But then he chuckles, and then he catches himself. And I kept walking. I'm like, everybody, when they sell you something, tell you how great it is, and then you get it, and there's always a trick. But anyway, put the date on your batteries. Put your date on your tools. Scratch. You only need the last 2 digits of the date on your tools. You should have a general idea how old they were. But it's amazing when you pick up a radio and you take the back cover off, and in the date, the thing's 15 years old. And you're like, no way it's 15 years old. If you do it, wait till you start seeing this. You're like, holy crap. My smoke detector batteries, they're 9 volts. I put the date on there. Now, if you say to me, John, when did you change the smoke detector batteries? And I always say, well, I change them when we move the clocks. You're supposed to change them. I only change them once. And then you say, well, I don't know. Right now, if I was to bet on it, well, what I can do is I go down there and I pop one of them open, and there's the date on the battery. And I'm like, I'm good for another 6 months. Right? That's the secret. And I learned it from an idiot, an absolute idiot. The guy was the most obnoxious, self-centered. He was a cartoon character of some sort. And his children would make up names and stuff behind his back. They would never say that to anyway, I did learn something from him, put the date on everything, and I screwed up. I don't know why, but I think I was in a daze from when I bought the batteries, and I think the ones that are in there said 15 years. And I'm like, how could these batteries last 15? But I spent more money on them than I normally do on alkalines, because I know they leak, man. And I've had stuff damaged, and I took my meter 3 times on my voltmeter, and 2 different brands of batteries. They both leak. And the meter sits there, and there's no current being drawn at all. Not even for a micro. It's a regular old-fashioned meter. And then finally, I made a new contact for it. I got all that. And one day the glue in the meter movement, the Arsenal movement, the Arsenal. So I used to know the name of it. Anyway, the movement fell apart inside the plastic and the glue and all that. It just biodegraded inside the meter movement. But anyway, that meter was such a janks. Every time I go to use ohms and it won't zero, I know when I open up the battery's leaking. I'm like, I had the date on the battery. The battery's 1 year old. In one case, it was 6 months old. And I double checked the battery, make sure there's no drain. The one lead of the meter was shorter than the other, so they could never touch. Now that meter is in a landfill somewhere. But this is what you go through, and the whole idea of this video is to start putting a date on things. Right? And you're gonna be like, holy shit, I can't believe that's 10 years ago. Yeah, it's kind of depressing too. And then when you're outside selling the stuff at the yard sale, you'll say something like someone, oh, I just bought that. If you had the date on, you're like, oh, 7 years ago, I can't believe it. And but that's what I learned from. You learn something from all the people you meet. I told you, when you go out for a walk, you meet people, you learn stuff from them. But one thing you might learn is you should have kept walking. I think that's it. All right, that's it. Put your date on your batteries.